Israel against everybody.
Yep.
I mean, it's not just Taliban or ISIS or Hezbollah or Hamas or the Houthis. It's like all of them. And then is it people groups or is it countries, right? Is it Syria? Is it Iran? Is it Lebanon? It's Israel against everybody.
Yep.
This will escalate into World War III type activity when Russia has said they're going to fund Iran with weapons to fight this. And this is the first time Trump's statement is so wildly accurate, I believe, because this is the first time I've seen, and by no means am I a military historian, right? But I read a lot, right? And I look at the economic implications. Yeah. The first time we've seen the Islamic community band together when Hamas and Hezbollah, the Shiites and the Sunni, they don't get along normally. Banding together to fight a common enemy, which is the great Satan, United States, and the little Satan, Israel. So we're on the verge of that, which will have economic implications. What he was talking about with the Great Depression, it's actually worse than what he said. The Great Depression was a deflationary depression. So the depression has to do with the business cycle. People aren't working. Companies are shutting down. There's no wages, right? And so prices came down in reflection of that. The way that we fight business recessions and depressions now is different. It's we print money. So that's an inflationary depression. So the depression has to go with the business cycle. People aren't working. There's no wages. There's no jobs. Couple that with the way that we now fight those battles as we print our way out of it. Prices are going to go up when people can't afford it the most. This is why it's not going to be Great Depression style. It's going to look like that. Food lines. People aren't going to be able to afford to eat, but the prices are going to be through the roof. And this is the worst of all possible scenarios for a policymaker.
It makes me think we interviewed a lady that lived in Zimbabwe when everything happened there. And she was talking about like her mom had a retirement of, I don't know, $250,000 or something like that, equivalent to that in their country. And they went to buy groceries and the sack of groceries was her retirement.
Yeah.
But it would happen like that. It wasn't like over a long period of time. She said it literally happened like that.
They took prices off the shelves, and it was just as you were checking out, what was the price? Because it was changing so fast.
And they were considered the breadbasket of the world.
Yeah.
When all of that happened.
Of all of Africa, they were shipping food to Europe and flowers
everywhere.
Zimbabwe was a really prosperous nation, and
or,
just boom.
Or Venezuela. Like all of those places that we've seen.
But Americans feel like that can't happen here. But I know it happens. We just went to Branson last week. We stopped at an Arby's, and Arby's isn't fancy. We split a sandwich and we both got a drink. It was
$20.
It was a little less than $20.
And the lady that that we checked us out, she was like, "Yeah, this is just astronomical, just crazy. What we're seeing." But it wasn't like that a few years ago.
It wasn't like that. And see, the Great Depression that Trump talked about was that was earlier in the 1900s. All of the things we're talking about now, Zimbabwe, current, Venezuela, 2022 had 1,000,000% inflation. 1,000,000. That's because they print their way out of it. This is the new norm. So the new norm is people wiping out their entire life savings immediately. $250,000 retirement, that was basically the grocery bill.
Right. Yeah.
This doesn't happen in Great Depression style economy. This happens in today's economy where the mechanisms of fighting it are just different. They will use the printing press as the first line of defense, not the last line of defense. And that's what makes this so incredibly
And that's not
difficult.
speculation. That's what we're already doing.
It's what we're already doing.
That's not, hey, it'll come to that. When you're injecting another $1 trillion every 90 days,
And then what does unemployment, how does that play into all of this?
So unemployment, obviously we're talking a lot about recession right now, right? Everywhere, it's like you and I have been talking about this for a year.
Yeah.
Flyover viewers, this is not new news. They're going to say, you keep talking about the same thing. Yeah, but now we've got mainstream media that's now picking up on it. It's like to us, it's not news. To everybody else watching it, this is brand new stuff.
Right.
Because they say, we're about to enter into a recession. this is what you'll hear on CNN, on Fox Business, on CNBC, all these places. Like, okay, at least they're getting into the right realm, but we've been in a recession since March of 2020 during the height of COVID. All that a recession is 2 quarters of declining output in a row. We've had that since COVID, right? So when we're talking about unemployment, there's a few different things that we start to look at. Whenever you've had 4 months in a row of increasing unemployment numbers, 100% of the time you go into a recession.
Wow.
So we've had that.
Yes.
We've had that. Now, there's other things like the SAM rule, the SAHM, and people can Google that.
Is that an acronym?
No, it's named after some economist name with the last name Sam.
Okay.
So what that says is that when you have, there's an automatic, like, I shouldn't say automatic, 90% chance of a recession. When you look at the unemployment rate, if you start to see these massive quick moves that are more than 0.5% in a short period of time, 90% of the time we go into recession. We've seen that now. So you've got that going on. You've got a more broader view of unemployment. You've got wages that are coming down and people can't afford to spend money. So you look at all of these things. Recession is right around the corner, according to mainstream media. And what I'm telling people is we've had this since 2020. This is not new. So when you have a recession, put it into context, that is a decline in business output, which means more people are going to become unemployed.
Wow.
Right? And so during COVID, we also had COVID tested the unemployment insurance system to the core. They basically ran out because everybody was not working.
Right.
Right. So it's like they wanted to collect unemployment. They used it all. So now the economy cannot handle another pandemic, which sadly we've had news from the Center for Disease Control's HHS. It's like, okay, we're going to have another pandemic.
Yeah. Whether it be bird flu or monkeypox or whatever, but the bird flu thing is starting to spike.
Bird flu is starting to spike, and now monkeypox is actually the other. I don't know if it's spiking or not, but to me, it probably will because they're talking about it.
Right.
They're projecting what they're going to bring so they can say, look, we were really smart. We talked about this. And these hemorrhagic fevers are going to create fear and havoc. So everybody needs a vaccine, right? Everybody's going to need these boosters. Everyone's going to need this. We're going to have mandates. We're going to have lockdowns. Travel restrictions, everything. The economy cannot handle that. The unemployment system, unemployment insurance, will not be able to handle all of the claims coming in. So what are people going to do?
Right.
Right? This is where we are ripe for what President Trump said on that video. This is the most dangerous time in the American economy historically, because it's not just a normal recession or normal depression. We have now changed, because of the BRICS nations, that the United States is no longer the reserve currency of the world. Every other time we decided we're going to raise the debt ceiling, we're going to provide stimulus, we're going to have entitlements, there was built-in demand for our currency, and we could do so.
Yep.
Here's the problem now. We're no different than Zimbabwe or Venezuela or Argentina or Cyprus or Greece. You name the country that their currency has collapsed because they had no demand for their currency and they printed it without discretion. We are now the same.
How long do currencies typically last?
About 88 years.
Pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah. And so we started in 1940s as the world's reserve currency, right? So we're now 80-something years into that cycle. The reserve currency will ultimately go away. That's the 88 years. Now, currencies, paper-based money, it's different, right? There's never, ever been a fiat-based currency that's ever stood the test of time. They always fail because governments will print more than what they need.
They get greedy.
And they get greedy. We're no different than that.
On the unemployment numbers, one thing I've read recently that the same people that sort of covered for Joe Biden, that said, hey, he's doing great.
Fine.
We can't even keep up with this guy in private. This guy is doing cartwheels. I don't know what happens when he goes out in public. They come on and on and on, and the media covered, for that. They're the same people there that are now throwing him under the bus and like, Kamala Harris is the greatest, thing ever. And we're going to have a clear choice of, there's no doubt we're going into a storm. Who do you want flying the plane? When it comes to finance, I think that makes it, if that's a single issue voter, it's going to be very clear. But something that they've covered, the same as they covered for Joe Biden, is the unemployment numbers, because they have massive immigration. You think, well, they're doing a terrible job at the border. They're doing an incredible job at the border based on their goals. They're not failing at the border. They're crushing it. They're being very successful based on what they've tried to do over the last 3.5 years. But I've seen some numbers that are like 1.2 million American, increase unemployment, but 1.5 million new jobs went to non-native workers. So the numbers that they're talking about are two things. One, it's people that went back to work after COVID. They get credit for all of those. So basically, most of the economy was shut down. They opened it up. Now you can go back to work. They treat those like new jobs. And then number two, the jobs that are going to non-Americans, they're counting as jobs. Right. And so it's really hard to tell exactly how Americans are doing. And then just on top of that, I got to ask you, when we're out about, it's not like restaurants are empty. It's not like airports are empty. I'm so like, how are things doing so bad, but people are still moving and
purchasing
and purchasing it at a way that appears that things are fine?
Yeah. So, you know how Americans are fighting this inflationary pressure that we're seeing with debt?
They just keep like credit cards.
They're fighting
or
it
whatever.
with debt. If you look at the amount of debt that we have, consumer debt, record all-time high, over $1.1 trillion in credit card debt. Student loan debt, well over $1 trillion, all-time high. National debt at an all-time high. Mortgage debt at an all-time high. Auto loans at an all-time high. See, we've got these inflationary pressures coming from the Biden administration, and how are we fighting it? Oh, with debt, which is the problem moving forward, because you have to raise interest rates to slow down the inflation that Biden is creating. And when we've been fighting this battle of inflation as people with debt, we haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg of pain yet. That's coming, sadly, which is why we keep shouting from the rooftops constantly, the solution. How do you do that with tangible metals like these? Because, David, like you talked about earlier, they're things. Things go up with inflation. So it's like, all right, we can identify this trend. We can identify the problem. And then how do you counter that? You have to go into the things that are going up with inflation, which are things.
Right.
I mean, it's just common sense.
Things that you can touch. Things that you can.
Yeah.
You can't just print.
Exactly.
Correct.
This is heavy, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm struck. This is really heavy. I mean,
well, it's 100 ounces.
It's
That's
100 ounces. I mean,
heavy.
so this is the same weight as these.
Yep.
They're both 10 ounces. I kind of like the old school looking
they're
ones.
kind of cool, aren't they?
Yeah, they look
like
pretty cool. But they're all
it's
worth
legit.
the same amount.
Yeah.
Until we've been at this a long time.
I know.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. You've been going. So they're just. I mean, but that's brand new. These are brand new. It's just different. And I've got some of each, as well, and they're all worth the exact same amount.
Yeah.
Right. So
Because it's ounces.
it's ounces.
That's all they
It's
care
bullion
about.
and it's ounces. Yeah.
All right. Unemployment insurance. How is that impacting what's going on?
So when you're an employer, you pay in every W-2 employee, right, pays into unemployment insurance, right? As do employers. Now, when there's claims on it, they start pulling out of this unemployment fund's coffer.
Okay.
Well, the more companies that go out of business in this economy, the less money that's going into the unemployment coffer.
Yep.
And so, but you don't make a really sustainable living on unemployment. You can't. because it's like a small dinky amount.
Right. The goal is to get you back to work.
The goal is to get you back to work as quickly as possible. As soon as you get a job, the unemployment goes away. But it's this temporary Band-Aid, which people aren't going to have pretty soon. They're not even going to have that. So then what comes next? It's like then is the grand master plan of Kamala and the stupid governor from Minnesota, whoever she picks, right?
Yep.
And the left as a whole is we want people completely dependent on the government for their subsistence, for their provision, for their protection. It's like, man, that's God is our protector. You know, our provider.
Yep.
He's got names for that, right? And that's who he is.
Exactly.
The government is
that's a great
trying.
That is a great point.
The government is trying to replace God in our society as our protector, as our provider, as our peace. And so whenever you take that away from God, you're going to have a bad outcome. So in a sense, who cares if the unemployment insurance goes away? That's just a temporary thing. What comes next is I can't get unemployment insurance to cover me temporarily. And if I get a job, the benefits that I'm going to get from other things, like Social Security and free health insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, and all this other stuff, it's like, well, I'm not going to get that anymore. I'm not going to get my disability payments. I'm not going to get this. So people then simply don't work. This is where the whole concept of universal basic income come in. Like, we're dealing with this in our company. So as every company now across America is going to, so if you have a salaried-based employee, they have to make a minimum. They have to make a minimum.
Okay.
Which is about $60,000 a year.
Okay.
So
They're kind of eliminating a lot of these lower rungs
I
on the
would say
ladder.
they really are.
You
Yeah.
know, because a lot of people are like, you're probably not going to hire teenagers to come in and sweep and do things to kind of get job experience
Plus,
as well.
the employers, like if I'm going to pay $60,000 a year, I'm going to have less employees and
Right.
more stress is going to fall on the ones that I do have, more responsibility.
So here's the problem, and it gets a little bit technical, right? But everybody who's watching this that's an employer are going to realize you have exempt employees and non-exempt employees. Non-exempt employees, basically, you have to pay them hourly plus overtime. But not everybody can be a non-exempt employee. Some people have to be exempt, which means you're on a salary. You can't pay people anymore a salary that's less than a certain number, which equates to about $60,000 a year. So what if you're out there and you've got some job and you're making $30,000 to $40,000 a year? You're going to have to be bumped up or move them to an hourly, which then not everybody can qualify for an hourly if they have a specialized. I mean, this becomes so problematic.
Oh, my God.
This is basically universal basic income that they just instilled on everybody. I mean, this is
What a mess.
the monotony of it all. And so they're destroying the fabric of America. So many companies are going to go out of business. Right. So how are you going to classify your employees as hourly or salary if they're salary? I mean, it becomes so bad. And this is all a function of Bidenomics. Right. So this is where we need wisdom. We need discernment with our leaders. We need to encourage people to work and succeed rather than to not work and just make a living.
Right.
Or there's a difference.
There is.
If you don't fix that, America will stop being great.
Well, they come out with these policies like, well, everybody deserves to make a living wage. All this kind of stuff. Well, yeah, but why don't you just make minimum wage $100 an hour? You know, like what difference does it make if everything becomes so expensive? I mean, just in our lifetime, I remember talking about, man, if you could make $100,000 a year.
Oh, I thought you could buy an island or something.
You would just,
I was
it would
like,
be
wow.
$100,000 a year income was just mind blowing.
Yeah.
And it was rare. It was a very elite income where, man, now, especially in some states like California, like I don't, know how you'd hardly get by.
Yeah.
You know, you definitely couldn't own a home.
Yeah.
The average home price has gone to like $400,000 a year across the board in our country.
I mean, $400,000.
$400,000 for a home. Well, shoot, I mean, they could make minimum wage $1,000 an hour. if everything goes to, if it's
Well, we saw that when
if it's 10 grand to buy Arby's sandwich, what difference does it make?
Well, when our son Colton, he used to work for Outback and lived in California at the time, and they increased minimum wage.
It's an Australian themed steakhouse. If you don't know.
Exactly.
Yes.
They increased minimum wage, and so he was a waiter. Well, they got rid of all the bussers, so now the waiters had to do what the bussers did, and then they increased the price of a steak.
And they shrunk the steaks.
And they shrunk the steak, and so it was
Went from 8 ounce to 6 ounce for the filet. I mean, everything adjusted.
It went up, but it still cost everybody more money, and it ended up actually hurting him more than it did even other people, because obviously he was on a limited income, and everything else went up. Everything else cost more money.
Sure.
Because he goes to buy a loaf of bread or some eggs, or it all went up.
Yeah.
Where, if a loaf of bread went up $1, it didn't hurt us as much.
Right.
But for him, he's like, wow, man, I left the store. This was like my budget was like $50 a week, and now it's like $75 or $80 a week. So his purchasing power after being paid to go spend it in the economy didn't go as far.
No.
Yeah.
It was more work for him.
But hey, guess what? Everybody is making more per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those workers that they're trying to help were hurt the most.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit more about immigration. You have a video on it, and if you want to set that up, I think that's important for us to look at as well, because that is really affecting us.
This is such a good video. It's a very good visual depiction on what immigration, when we're dealing with people coming across the border, it's more of a feel-good thing. Mm-hmm. We need to help them. We need to provide them opportunity. This is what America's all about, right? Mm-hmm. But this video is so good because, as we're going to see, that's actually hurting people more than it's helping people. So we'll watch it, and then we'll chat about it real quick.
All right.
Right.
Some people say that mass immigration into the United States can help reduce world poverty. Is that true? Well, no, it's not. And let me show you why. This gumball represents the 1 million legal immigrants that the United States has taken every year on average since 1990. Now, who in the world deserves our humanitarian compassion? The World Bank has one measure of the desperately poor of the world. They make less than $2 a day. And how many people make less than $2 a day in the world? We'll start with Africa. In Africa alone, there are 650 million people who make less than $2 a day. 650 million. And in India, another 890 million people, desperately poor. China adds another 480 million people, making less than $2 a day. And unfortunately, the rest of Asia has a heartbreaking 810 million people who the World Bank says make less than $2 a day. And finally, there's 105 million of Latin America's population that are desperately poor. All told, the World Bank says there are 3 billion people in the world, 3 billion people who are desperately poor, making less than $2 a day. That's 3,000 gumballs. And every year, we take 1 million and suggest that we've somehow made a humanitarian difference. Of course, we don't pull our immigrants from these desperately poor populations, do we? These people are too poor, too sick, too disconnected to make it here as immigrants. We tend to pull our immigrants out of the better off poor of the world. And Mexico tends to define the type of immigrant that we bring here because the plurality of people come from Mexico. And Mexico is poor. How many people in the world live in countries that have average incomes lower than that of Mexico? And the World Bank tells us that that number is these 3 billion plus another 2.6 billion people. 5.6 billion people in the world who live in countries with average incomes below that of Mexico. That's 5,600 gumballs. And so what is it that the elites are telling us? They're telling us that when we take this 1 million immigrants, that we somehow or another are tackling world poverty. And we have to do it regardless of the effect on our unemployed, the working poor, the most vulnerable members of our society, regardless of the effect on our natural resources. Even if we went by the most radical proposals in Washington which are to actually double our immigration to 2 million a year, which would totally overwhelm our physical, natural, and social infrastructures, we couldn't make a noticeable difference. And we may be really hurting the impoverished people of the world because the million that we do take are among the most energetic, often the better educated, certainly the most dissatisfied people that if they did not immigrate would be the agents for change to improve the lot of all the people in these countries. The true heroes in the global humanitarian field are the people in these countries who have the wherewithal to immigrate to another country, but instead stay in their countries to apply their skills to help their fellow countrymen. Unfortunately, our immigration system tends to entice these very type of people to abandon their countrymen. The impossibility of making even a dent is actually worse than it looks here. Because last year, when we took 1 million immigrants, these countries added, births over deaths, 80 million more people into the impoverished population. And this year, Congress is bringing in 1 million legal immigrants. And this year, according to the United Nations, these countries are expected to add another 80 million people. And next year, you can be quite sure that Congress, unless stopped by the American voters, will bring in another 1 million immigrants. And these countries, unfortunately, will be adding another 80 million people into these impoverished nations. We could take 5 million a year, but we'd never get ahead of what's happening in these countries. Not in this century. Don't you see? Immigration can never be an effective or significant way to deal with the suffering people of the world. They have to be helped where they live. 99.9% of them will never be able to immigrate to a rich country. There's no hope for that. They have to bloom where they're planted. The only place that 99.9% of these people can be helped is where they live. Let's help them there.
It's such a fascinating breakdown because people do have this feeling of like, oh, we can fix the poverty in the world by just bringing everybody here. But mathematically, that just doesn't play out. You can't bring everybody here. And then what about the ones that didn't have the ability to go and they're left behind?
Right.
It's so destructive on the nations they leave.
So destructive. I mean, so the ones that had some ambition to try to get across the border, they're now leaving those countries, right? This is what this is all about. So the only ones that are left are going to be the biggest drain on society ever. By us taking the small little dinky percentage, which is more of a feel-good thing for us, right?
Yep.
But it does impact our jobless numbers. It does impact the number of people that are working in America.
Yep.
So it hurts us here, and it really hurts those countries because the only ones that are left are the ones that didn't have the ambition to kind of try to leave and escape anyways. So those countries go farther down. This is why foreign aid, it's good money chasing bad is really what it boils down to. But they use it for political purposes, right? So the more that this goes on at the border, it's just this political hot potato. We got to help these poor people. We got to make this, but it hurts America and it really hurts those other countries.
Yep.
So if you really wanted to help, don't let them come across the border. Send them back and say, you know what? Make a difference in your own country. Be a robust part of the economy in your own country, and that will help the whole world.
Because they're mostly healthy, strong, fit, primarily young men that are coming across. I mean, the lion's share.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, are they really here for that, or are they here for nefarious reasons?
Well, either way, they have the finances and physical stamina to
be able to do it.
to make that jump.
And there are things, you were talking about even, stay in their own country, but there are organizations like Vidar Ligard, which we've had on our show before, and he actually goes to those countries and then teaches them how to make money in their own areas and helps them to be able to not just survive, but prosper.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of that whole saying of, teach a man to fish, versus giving a man a fish. And he teaches them how to fish.
Yeah.
And so there's organizations to help them in these areas as well.
Mm-hmm. Which is legitimate help.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like what you do with your kids. Oh, my kid's kind of struggling. I'm going to give them $1 million.
Right. That's not going to help them.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
It's better to get into the mess with them and walk through the mess, teaching them something.
Right, absolutely. Or else you turned into the equivalent of a trust funder.
Right.
Which will blow through all of the money so fast you can't even count it, right?
I mean, we've all seen movies about it.
Yeah.
Or lottery winners or anything else.
Oh, yeah.
Money does not solve problems. Money, here's a controversial statement that people push back on me with, but money does not fix poverty.
Right.
Right.
And they're like, well, of course it would. Someone's poor because they don't have enough money. Well, we've seen it. Again, lottery winners, NFL draft picks, all the way through. It's the systems they operate in and their ability to earn. All we're doing is creating poverty-based systems in a prosperous nation like America, which I think ultimately is the goal. If you can bring it down, then the world is all equal, which is their beautiful utopia. It's not that everything is perfect; it's that nobody has anything.
Yeah, I know some professional athletes, and the way that they blow through money, it's a lot of them make $10-20 million a year, and they have to file for bankruptcy.
Right.
It's like, how?
Yep.
Money doesn't solve the poverty issue. It's being ill-equipped. It's not being trained. It's not having a mentor. It's not being educated in the world of finance, when all it takes is $4.50 a day, like we've talked about before, to actually have millions of dollars in retirement.
Yep.
Imagine if you're making millions of dollars a year, how big and robust your retirement would be. Literally, you could change generations of your family. So this economic illiteracy is part of what we want to help fix, right? Which is why we take so much time with all of our clients, letting them understand why we do what we do, what makes sense. And once you get to that point of peace, you're never going to look back.
Yep.
I don't know if I have a single client anymore of the 40,000 or so that we have that would go back to say, yeah, I'm just going to spend like a drunken sailor. No, they've learned.
Yep.
Right. So this is why we got to get the message out to the masses even
And that's
more.
why people need your book too.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of good stuff in that book.
Yeah. So where can people get your book?
On Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thriving, the economic tsunami.
Yeah. Let's talk about our digital age. The Big Brother thing, all of that. People are very aware of that. These smart cities and different things like that they're wanting to put in place. Let's talk a little bit about that.
So, I mean, it takes a bunch of different names, right? Which probably by default, they want us to not be focused on one thing, whether it's central bank digital currency or digital wallets or 15-minute cities or all of these different things, right? But the point is, we now have a digital social profile, a social credit score that's attached to us, right? And just like what we were talking about earlier, even our voice has this frequency, which is now known all over the surveillance society. Yeah. Right. And once we find your frequency of a voice, we're going to shut you down if you have a message that we don't like. Right.
Yep.
There's things going on. So in the United Kingdom, we've got these riots that are happening right now, right? Based on immigration, right? These people are ticked. And so now you've got different draconian measures being placed on people where your digital social profile, your social credit score, you have got to have 100 social credit points, which is maybe it's your passport, driver's license, for you to even open up a social media account. And then if you talk negatively about some of these things like immigration or even about the riots, well, what if you're a news outlet and you're talking about it?
You better cover it positively.
You better cover it in the way that they want you to, because once you basically have the ability to open up even a social media profile based on they identify you with your passport or whatever, now you have to follow their rules of the game. And in the UK, they've basically said police can monitor all of your private chat conversations, private.
Wow.
Doesn't even need to be public anymore. So when people say, Kirk, is this mark of the beast thing really here? It's like, if it walks like a duck, looks like a duck, quacks like, I mean, yes, I believe all of the technology is finally here. Because we've had other societies throughout history that said, oh, we're here. The end of the world is coming, right? It's like Jesus is coming back real soon. Well, we've never had the technology in place for that to happen until now. Right? And I know a lot of the prophets that you talk to, it's like, we're getting really from the rumors of wars and the surveillance society and the ability to actually, with digital money, you couldn't completely control people with paper money because it's still private, which is why they want to get rid of it so bad. Right? So as we look at this Big Brother, it's more to me than just knowing the ins and outs of you. It has everything to do with ultimately controlling you and what you can buy or sell and when and why. And these stories that we see that might seem unrelated to anything, oh, you just can't post about a riot. Well, okay, let's move that a little bit further. What if it's about a gender issue? What if it's about some other kind of what they would consider hatred, whether it's racial or economic or socioeconomic or political, right? They can cut you off, silence your voice, and monitor everything that you say publicly or privately. I mean, this isn't too far away from Tom Cruise's Minority Report movie and the Thought Police.
That's exactly right.
I mean, this is where we're headed. And maybe with the new chips that Elon Musk has, thinking about putting in your brain, maybe we do get to Thought Police, right? It's like creepy. That is really creepy world we're entering into.
That is crazy. Let's watch that video real fast about what's going on in the UK, because I don't know if people are really aware, but there are riots, and it looks like maybe a civil war.
I think a lot of people are like, well, I'm not hearing a lot about this, or I'm not hearing every side of it. So it's kind of like what you hear is the whole truth.
Yeah.
Well, if you can control what's said, you definitely control what's being heard.
Right. Exactly.
Which creates the narrative. You got to be a lot more discerning in the way that you interpret these things. But one way to kind of detect it is these people usually tell you what they're doing.
Right.
And so, but you just have to think of the cause and effect of that.
Right.
If I tell you I'm going to knock this cup over, you got to be able to figure it out on your own. There's going to be water on the table then.
Right.
But you got to piece that last part together because we're not going to talk about water on the table. There is no water on the table. We're knocking the cup over. There's no water on the table. How can you knock the cup over and there's no water on the table? You got to think of that, the effect on your own.
Correct.
Let's watch that video real fast.
Let's watch.
The offence of incitement to racial hatred involves publishing or distributing material which is insulting or abusive, which is intended to or likely to start racial hatred. So if you retweet that, then you're republishing that, and then potentially you're committing that offence. And we do have dedicated police officers who are scouring social media. Their job is to look for this material and then follow up with identification arrests and so forth. So it's a really, really serious. People might think they're not doing anything harmful. They are, and the consequences will be visited upon them.
Well, one thing I got to point out is something said with kind of a British accent, and that seems a lot more chill. Like, because it's kind of sweet, Ricky Gervais can come, and go to the award shows and thrash everybody there, but there's a funniness and a softness to the accent that you kind of get away with, with more than if you had like an abrasive like New York accent. So it sounds kind of like, oh, he's a professor and they're probably doing good things. This guy sounds like a really, really, really well-read, considerate, like he's thought this through, this is probably good for the people. That guy seems like, not crazy.
Well, he does seem not, you're right. Sadly, everybody with a British accent does seem smarter than everybody who doesn't have one, right?
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean that they're actually smarter. In fact, these are so intrusive, these policies, that it will spread. It will come across the pond. It will be here. What's happening in Europe will happen in America, just like it's happening in Australia, just like it's happening everywhere. But this is complete communism, right? It's like when Kamala talks, and she's talking about equity and equality, right? And so it's like, well, boy, equality is everybody being equal. Equity is getting people. So basically what she's saying is, not everybody starts from the same point. Some people might be up here, some people might be down here, but we need everybody to be at the same point, which means the people at the bottom are going to catch up. That is communism.
Right.
She is absolutely 100% a communist. Right. And that's the ideology that we're facing here in America. And what comes with communism? Complete control over you and your life, on what you can make, what you can earn, what you can spend money on, what products are being manufactured at the stores.
Yep.
Right. What taxes you
It's
have
no
these
different
high
than
taxes.
China.
It's no
we've talked
different.
about the ESG score so many times. I remember you talking about it a few years ago. And then what's that lady's name? Pippa
Malmgren.
Yeah, you've played a video of her talking about digital currencies and that, what that could lead to in the future. That was like, I think, a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Right.
So if they can turn you off at the tap, it's a scary feeling if you're ever traveling and like because of your maybe erratic charges that are out of pattern, they'll stop your card, and you're like, well, how am I going to get home?
Right.
How am I going to do this? We spoke at a conference one time in Brazil, and they turned off our credit card because it was being used in a new place. I'm like, I'm in another country and I can't use my credit card. This is kind of a vulnerable feeling. We don't experience that a whole lot, but if they can do that at your local Hy-Vee,
right,
and different things because of something you said online, communism only works if you can silence the pushback. If you silence the complaints, it's easier to move along.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that in other communist countries. Look at Tiananmen Square. Look at where people oppose the government, and what do they do in communism? They just get rid of them.
Yeah.
Right? They truly just get rid of them.
Yep.
Well, now they can just silence millions of people at a time.
Yeah, with the flip of a switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how many people, even though they might be outspoken at some point, if they can't buy or sell, are they going to keep speaking? Probably
Right.
not.
Yep. Well, we even saw it with January 6th. I think, a lot of people, they really felt like if they could kind of intimidate people, to not stand up, then they wouldn't want to do that again in the future, or parents going to school board meetings or whatever. I think they underestimated the American spirit, where you get down, and I think a lot of people got back up. They may have gotten knocked down, but I think a lot of people did get back up. But I think they were trying to silence them. How long can we keep people quiet?
Not for very long. But see, God is telling us, he told us about this a long time ago, thousands of years ago, what it was going to be like during these times, right? And like we just talked about, people in different eras of history have thought that Jesus is coming back right now, but it could never have happened because we didn't have the technology for this. But now that we do, and in that, God says, look up, don't look down.
Right.
Don't be focused on the storm. Look up, because your redemption is not. And there's hope. There's hope in this message. And during the midst of the storm, he is going to provide peace. He's going to provide comfort. He's going to provide prosperity. And because there's a lot of people that need to know about him. So ultimately that tells me that not all of our voices are going to be silenced.
Amen. That's right.
And so his voice of hope and victory is going to be heard loud and clear. And it's when the times are the darkest that people are going to be the most receptive to hearing it. They might not be receptive right now.
Right.
But you know what? When you're month 6 into not being able to provide food for your family and there's a message of hope that comes around, you will listen to it.
Yep.
Right. So I think this is where there's hope coming. And you like we saw with President Trump speaking earlier, it is going to be dark, most dangerous times in history. But this is where we as believers now get to say, wow, our light's going to shine really, really, really bright.
Yes, that's right.
And that's what I look forward to.
That is huge. Something that on the prophetic report that over this last week that I heard from quite a few prophets talking about that revival or this billion soul harvest that we're looking forward to. Revival typically happens in a storm. If you look back on past revivals, there was a lot of chaos going around at the time. It was kind of stormy at the time, and revival broke out. And so I don't know why we would think it would be any different. We're talking about a billion soul harvest that's coming. That's a lot of people worldwide. What's going on in the world that caused that revival to spark?
Fear. Really fear.
People looking like, I need answers.
We need answers, whether it's an economic upheaval, storms and hurricanes and all this stuff, or what I heard recently, the big one, like a mega earthquake is going to come in Japan.
Yeah.
Which would cause tsunamis everywhere.
Yep.
So all of this fear, right? It's like This is why God tells us to look up. Don't look down. Don't be focused on the storm. See, when there was a storm and Peter walked on water, he looked down and saw the waves. He didn't look up. This is why God says in these times, look up. Right? Don't focus on the storm that's right underneath you, because if you do, you will sink. Right? You'll be so consumed and gripped with fear. And so the one little small piece of all of this that we help people with is the financial piece of it, right? You've got pastors and prophets that are speaking into the spiritual world. We can speak into the financial world. You've got politicians that are trying to maintain and regain our freedoms that the enemy has stolen. But you put all of that together, it's like the 7 mountain mantle principle, right? Yep. You're going to have amazing leaders in all of these 7 areas of society: education, arts, and politics, and religion, everything, where we will find hope. Yes. We will find hope. And God needs people who are willing to step out in faith and do it. This is why I think he's cleaning up his own house first. And you start to see all these people fall away from grace. And it's like, God's just cleaning up for what appears to be a time when we're going to need people that are following after him completely to navigate through this.
It's huge. Okay, so looking at the things that we've covered here, whether it be what's going on with immigration or what's going on in the U.S. economy or even the digital world, where does silver fit into the equation?
Number one, it's just a great investment, right? It's simply growing faster than most things on earth right now. I mean, it's good. Now, to me, people get confused with cryptocurrency for safety and gold and silver for safety. Cryptocurrency isn't safe. It might be private. So privacy you can have through decentralized blockchain cryptocurrency. You can have privacy through a tangible asset like silver that you take delivery of. Safety, we've seen how cryptocurrency can go to almost nothing overnight. What about the flip of a switch? What about CrowdStrike? What about if you don't have access to it? That's not safe. It might be private, but it's not safe. So adding safety into a financial portfolio is where this comes in. Number two, in a worst case, mark of the beast scenario, you don't want to take digital currency. You don't want to be part of their digital world. You have something like this that you could barter with. You can't barter with this.
You wouldn't want to carry this around. This is heavy.
You're bartering for a boat,
a car or a boat. Yeah, I mean, but really,
or a stockpile of groceries or something.
But something like this is perfect for barter.
Yeah.
Because it's small, it's portable, it has value. People know what it is. It's recognizable. And that is truly currency. That's what currency is. Founding fathers even said the only kind of legit currency in America is gold or silver coinage. Not Federal Reserve dollars or notes or whatever you want to call these dumb things. That's not how the founding fathers envisioned it. We're going back to true, I believe, God's money in the future, and we're moving in that direction right now. So whether it's just for investment or for something that can maintain your freedoms and ability to buy or sell, that's why we like it so much.
That makes sense.
All right. I always tell our listeners, this isn't your grandpa's PhD, in a tweed jacket with the elbow pads and the pipe, or whatever. When I'm talking about you have not one but two PhDs. But something that I get questions about, and people will make stuff in the comment section, is about your tattoos. You're like you mentioned the nerd stuff earlier, but you got this cool edge here too with the tattoos. So I like this opportunity because we're here in person. Because I know you, and we've talked about this.
Yeah,
they have stories with deep meaning. You're not like a typical like a new NFL draft pick, that has lines of all your baby mamas or something, on there, pictures. Tell us about these, because people ask questions. What is the story with some of your arm art there, and what's it mean?
Well,
what do we got
they all
here?
have a deep spiritual meaning. And I see all the negative, nasty comments written about me. It's like, why would I ever do business with somebody who was an inmate? Those finger tattoos, that's an inmate. He was in prison. It's like, no, I wasn't. Now, I do actually have a lot of friends that were in prison because Joe and I do a lot of, especially Joe, inner city ministry with the Denver Dream Center and people who are incarcerated, single moms, in the projects. We do a lot in there. And these actually are door openers.
They are.
it promotes
Great
conversation, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, I mean, run wild, live free, love strong. Just a statement.
It's a good statement.
This is Greek, agape, unconditional love.
Yeah.
Right? So I've got that here as well. And this is Joe's name, front and back.
Oh, how cool.
921, number of Holy Spirit gifts. When you partner with God, you become one with Him and you can really change the world. These are ancient Nordic runes, which loosely interpreted, they're like hieroglyphics, right? But it means disseminating knowledge to the masses with a passion and fervor that'll change lives forever. That's what that means.
Wow.
Kids' birthdays. This is ancient Hebrew calligraphy. It stands for my beloved, like from the Song of Solomon. This is a lion, like Lion of Judah.
Yep.
This is Hebrew. It means basically undefeatable, which with Jesus, you are undefeatable.
Yep.
And this is I'm Irish, right? So I've got the Irish, logo, the three-leaf clover Trinity. That's what that stands for.
Yep.
And then the unending love. This is what this symbol is. Then I've got forgiven, Imago Dei, made in God's image. And this is just an ancient Nordic symbol for abundance.
Wow.
Because we should live an abundance mindset.
Yeah.
We're not talking about fake prosperity mindset. You can have abundance in all things with relationships and finances and peace. Oh man, today's world, I would love to have an abundance of peace, right?
Yes.
So anyways, they all have a deep spiritual meaning.
love that.
No, it's not because I came out of prison, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah,
that.
you're so welcome.
And they're cool. They say a lot about
They
it.
do. David and I have a couple of tattoos.
Man, kind of embarrassingly small amount compared there. We've got when my son turned 18, he and I got the first one here. It's just the Jesus fish. We got that. Because I'm like a tattoo. Like, what's something that I'm going to, there's this funny, I think it was a Snickers commercial or one of these, like a Detroit lion, and he got this, an NFL player, and he got a big lion on his back. And he's in the locker room, and he's like, "Hey guys, check this out." He's like, "Look at Roar." He's got this lion, a big Detroit lion, on his back. And the coach comes in, he's like, "Hey, Stravinsky, you've been traded to the Bears." And he's like, "Oh,"
He just gets this lion on his back, and
it's a funny commercial. Like, what's something you're always going to believe in? So we always kind of had that, and then
Avery and I got the same one, but it says love on it. So same fish, but love. But so Colton and David have that. Avery and I have this one.
little fancier one. Then on this side. On a greeting card, we saw this number of years ago, but I don't think you can see it on the camera there. But it's basically the gospel in symbols.
So it says, "He came, he died, he arose, he ascended, he's coming back." So he came, he died, he arose, he ascended, he's coming back, which creates great conversation because people see the symbols. They're like, "What does that mean?"
Right.
And it allows us to share the gospel.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yep. So pretty cool. So those are our tattoos.
Kind of simple.
Yeah, I mean,
but we're just kind of beginners.
It's really, I mean, literally, I put them on there permanent, right?
Yeah.
And they have a deep spiritual meaning, all of them. And then the naysayers, I get, it's like, you should not adorn yourself with jewels and, put these tattoos on you. It's not biblical. It's like, do you wear earrings or makeup?
Right.
Or do you do anything? Do you have a watch, right? It's
Sure.
like, you can take things out of context, right? All I'm trying to show to the world is conversation starter so I can share Jesus with people.
I love it. I love it.
Well, we've known you for a long time. Your dad was a mentor of ours when we first were married, and that advice, a lot of it's still paying off. We married 31 years,
Yep.
and some of the books he had me get, and some of the advice there, it's like still bearing fruit. And then to be able to be doing shows with you, now today, and putting that out to millions of people, it's just kind of a cool piece. Sometimes you look back and you think, man, God's kind of been weaving things together for a long time and putting people in our path at the right times to do the right things. And of everything we do in our show, I mentioned earlier the stuff with Brian Artis, there's been a lot of great guests, that we've had that I know have made a difference. But if we stopped today with this episode and never did anything else, I feel so good about the effort we've put into building this company, because I know it is getting people out of the way of an economic tsunami. I feel so good about this message getting out and people beginning to kind of wake up, speak up, and show up in their most personal area, which is their finances, and say, I'm breaking away from this communistic, broken system and moving towards something real. Silver and gold are mine, saith the Lord. And it's like I'm getting a hold of something that stands the test of time, is not based on this Babylonian money system, and I'm breaking away. And I think that shift, I see it. And when we talk to people, the thing that begins to happen to them on the inside when they realize, like, okay, I'm actually moving into the driver's seat in one of the most important areas of my life, and not defaulting to what the box is telling me to do every day. I'm actually waking up and taking control.
Yeah.
And whether that's with $500 or somebody's moving over large sums, I could care less. It's the fact of you're taking control of this area of your life and moving into something real. It's one of the best feelings that people can participate in. I love seeing people that wake up, because what I find a lot of them, they do something small, and they're like, oh, I know how this works. I'm moving.
I'm doing it again.
I'm moving forward, and
Right.
it brings a ton of peace to the world.
It so does. And that's what we need right now.
Yes.
It's my prayer for this generation. Every single day that we would be like modern day sons of Issachar who understood the times and knew what to do. It's not hard to know what to do when you have open ears, open hearts, open minds. And God is constantly speaking.
Yeah.
Through his Holy Spirit, he's constantly speaking, but are we constantly listening?
It's a
the
great
big
question.
I mean, it's what we need to get to that point.
So before we let you go, what would be a step? If somebody's listening today and they're like, okay, I've never done anything before, what's the next step? What should they do?
Give us a call on our phone number or the link that you have, right? So here's what the process looks like once people call in, right? So the phone number, the link, easy cheesy, but then what?
Yep.
So you'll talk to one of my schedulers. We have 15 or 20 of them. I don't even know anymore, right?
Wow.
They're just
It's
amazing.
because you've gotten so big.
Yeah, so they'll ask questions like, what was it that David and Stacy and Kirk were talking about that caused you to want to reach out? We want to hear your dreams, hear your fears, hear your goals, and address them, right? Which is why we don't have an e-commerce site.
Right.
Because then people can just go buy something that they shouldn't have, and then we don't know why. We want to know our people, right? Because they're family, and we're going to be walking through this journey together moving forward. So then they'll set you up with a consultation with one of my amazing consultants. We'll drive in deep. Just like, what do you have, an IRA, a non-IRA? What are you trying to do? Just a cash account, some money you have in the bank? What is it? And then once we go from there, my team will do the rest. We'll help you move the funds, get the funds over. Once they get here, we'll get you allocated, either ship it to your home or store it at a depository.
Okay.
And that's where the journey begins. That's not the end of the journey.
Right.
That's the beginning of it, because moving forward, we will hold your hand through this economy, let you know when it's time to buy, sell, reallocate, get out of Dodge, do whatever needs to be done. But it all starts with the leap of faith, thinking, okay, logically, I heard what David and Stacy and Kirk talked about, makes sense. Now it's the leap of faith, calling somebody who you don't know.
Right.
You don't know me, right? And that's the leap of faith, but they know you from watching your show, right? And so, but that third-party endorsement is so strong to help build up people's faith.
Sure.
And the rest is on me and our team to actually say, wow, I did call the right place. I had no idea that people like you existed that think like I do, religiously, politically, economically. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yep.
But once you realize that it is, that financial anxiety starts to melt away, and we'll have a lifetime relationship with our clients. That's my goal.
I love it. So Flyover Family, what Dr. Kirk was saying there about the phone number, you can call 720-605-3900, 720-605-3900 to set up that free consultation, or to simply go to flyovergold.com. When you scroll down to the bottom, place you can fill out your information, and then someone from Dr. Kirk's team will get a hold of you to set up that free consultation. So one more thing before we let you go. I know I said that before. I know. But I just want people to know, because I think that this is really important for where we are today. We call you Doctor because you have 2 PhDs. Tell our listeners, if they haven't heard before, what are your PhDs in? What did you get them in?
First one is in public policy and administration, focusing on monetary economics, so central banking type stuff. And what my dissertation was on was developing a new methodology for inflation, because the way that the BLS and the central banks use it, it's broken. It doesn't work. It's not accurate. So it developed a new methodology for measuring inflation, and then glutton for punishment. It's like, 2's got to be better than 1, right? Of course. No, not necessarily. But I got a second one in theology. So when you add economics and theology together, what do you get? The philosophy of our firm, people over profit. Right. So You focus on people, profit comes. If you ever focus on profit, people will leave.
Yep.
I don't care if it's politics or business or a investing relationship or friendships. If you ever focus on profit, people will sniff right through it, and they're going to leave.
Yes.
Where if you focus on people, it's just God's math. That's where abundance comes in, and there will be profit from that because you're focusing on their needs, not your own.
It's huge. As you're talking, makes me think of Esther, for such a time as this, truly, like that combination of the two coming together, and for where we are right now as a country and people, like I in all of my 51 years, I've never seen people focus so much on what's going on with their economy,
Right.
with money, and to see where we are today. And these two coming together, it's a powerful combination.
It's amazing.
It
Yeah,
really
it
is. So, Dr. Kirk, thank you so much for coming in the studio again and spending time with us. We really do appreciate it.
It's so good, and I feel special. I'm repeat.